Welcome to The Silent Verdict.
With Clara Monroe and Elias Gray.
An employee at Ford Motor Company that was stealing millions of dollars of brand new parts right off the line. He'd steal these parts from the assembly plants, and then they would take them to a third-party auto shop, and they would post them on eBay and then sell them via eBay. Brand new hoods and boxes, and taillight assemblies, headlight assemblies, bumpers. Yeah, they're closed for the moment, and we're working with all our partners to see if we can't shut them down permanently.
Ford Motor Company also helped with this investigation.
Their global investigations team works hand in hand with us. So all these folks are currently in custody. Right now, I can't release their information because we have charges pending. And theft, criminal enterprise, there could be a racketeering charge.
Millions in missing Mustang parts. Seriously, buckle up. Because what unfolded in Wayne County, Michigan, it reads like something ripped straight from a gearhead thriller.
It really does sound wild.
Yeah, 4 men are now in custody, and they're tangled in these allegations of a Ford auto parts heist.
Yeah.
Potentially worth millions.
Millions, that's the figure that jumps out.
Right? Forget petty theft. We're talking about what seems like a pretty brazen operation. Parts allegedly snatched straight off Ford's assembly lines.
For 2 years, apparently.
Exactly, over 2 years. And then, incredibly, offered up for sale online. So what we want to do today is really unpack this alleged theft ring.
Yeah, try to grasp the sheer scale of it.
And understand the implications, without getting totally bogged down in all the legal jargon.
Mm-hmm. And that 2-year time frame you mentioned, that immediately jumps out. If these police allegations hold water, it wasn't just a one-off incident. It really suggests a sustained operation.
Definitely.
You really have to wonder how something like that could, persist undetected for so long.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the investigation that actually led to the arrests, it apparently kicked into high gear just about a month before.
Just a month. Okay.
Yeah. Then on May 6th, the Dearborn Police Department, working with Ford's own global security team.
Ford's involved directly then.
Oh yeah, their security, they made their move, apprehended 4 individuals. And, well, we're still waiting for the official word from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
Right, no formal charges filed just yet.
Not yet. But the potential charges being floated, things like grand theft, criminal enterprise, even racketeering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that paints a picture of something far more organized than simple shoplifting.
Racketeering, yeah, that's a serious term.
What does that even really suggest in a case like this?
Well, that's a key point. Mentioning criminal enterprise and racketeering, it suggests law enforcement believes this wasn't just random. They likely think it was a coordinated effort, multiple people working together over time, specifically for profit.
Right.
It goes way beyond individual acts of theft. It implies a structure, an organization.
And this wasn't just like pulling someone over with a trunk full of bumpers, right? They executed search warrants.
Where exactly?
At 2 local homes and, get this, 2 businesses right there in Detroit.
Okay, business is involved too.
And what investigators reportedly found at one of those businesses, and you have to picture this, a warehouse just packed, absolutely packed, floor to ceiling with brand new auto parts.
Wow.
All suspected of belonging to Ford. The sheer volume must have been, staggering.
Floor to ceiling. That's hard to even visualize. How do you even move that many parts without someone noticing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, the logistics of moving and, storing that quantity of parts undetected for potentially 2 years. That's a major question mark. It definitely hints at potential weaknesses, maybe insecurity, maybe inventory management within Ford's actual facilities.
Which kind of leads us right to the core of this alleged operation, doesn't it? Millions of dollars in parts vanished over roughly 2 years. Millions.
Yes.
It's an astronomical amount of missing inventory.
To get to that kind of value, it really implies a systematic removal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And probably frequent. Taking parts right off the production lines.
Yeah.
This wasn't a small-scale pilfering issue.
And think about the locations where these parts were allegedly taken from. These are significant plants.
Right. Which ones?
We're talking Ford's Dearborn plant. That's where the F-150 gets built, the legend. Flat Rock, home of the Mustang. And Wayne, which makes the Ranger and the Bronco.
So really popular models, high-demand vehicles.
Exactly. Ford's hottest sellers. So the parts themselves, the ones allegedly stolen, were likely in really high demand on the aftermarket too.
Oh, absolutely. That demand for parts, especially for popular trucks and SUVs, it creates a huge market. And unfortunately, that can incentivize illegal activities like this alleged theft ring big time.
So, okay, how did these valuable parts supposedly get from the factory floor onto the open market? What was the route?
That's the key, isn't it?
The alleged path involved 1 or maybe 2 third-party auto shops there in Detroit.
Okay, intermediaries.
And from there, straight onto the digital frontier, eBay.
eBay, wow.
Selling potentially stolen goods, brand new parts
Huh.
on a platform like eBay. It seems almost audacious, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, using an online platform gives you a massive marketplace, but
It is.
it also leaves a digital trail, right? A footprint that investigators can potentially trace back to the sellers.
True. So what kind of evidence did they actually find at these shops?
Was it just small stuff?
Well, according to the reports, the evidence they found at that one Detroit shop was pretty compelling. We're not talking about a few misplaced bolts or gaskets.
Right?
Police allegedly discovered this massive stockpile of brand new Ford components. Things like hoods, bumpers, headlights, taillights.
Big ticket items, visible parts.
Yeah, the kind of large, easily identifiable parts you'd think would be incredibly difficult to just casually walk out of a factory with.
The variety and the sheer size of those parts. It suggests the operation wasn't just limited to small things you could hide easily. It really points towards maybe a sophisticated method for removal, for transportation.
Okay, so let's shift a bit. How did this whole alleged scheme actually unravel? What was the turning point?
Yeah, how do they catch on after potentially 2 years?
Well, it started, as we mentioned, with that month-long investigation. A joint effort, remember, between the local police and Ford's own security people.
That collaboration is interesting. It signals how seriously Ford, at least, was taking this.
Definitely. But what kicked off that investigation, was it an audit? A tip? We don't know that part yet.
The fact that Ford's global security was involved, that suggests the company probably detected some discrepancies themselves. Maybe inventory counts were off, or they spotted some suspicious activity internally. That prompted them to call in law enforcement. That seems likely.
Then came the crucial step, executing those search warrants.
Right, at the homes and the businesses.
And that image, that description from the police chief about the Detroit shop being crammed from the floor to the ceiling with brand new parts,
Yeah.
that's a detail that just guess. It really drives home the sheer scale of what was allegedly happening. It makes you pause and wonder, how long had that warehouse been filling up like that?
That description, yeah, it paints a picture of something significant, something well-established, not just a fly-by-night thing.
And then finally, the arrests. 4 men taken into custody. That's a concrete step, right? A break in the case. But what happens now?
Well, the arrests are definitely a significant development. It indicates the authorities feel they've identified key people involved. But, and this is crucial, we have to remember this is really just the start of the legal process. Arrests aren't convictions.
Exactly. So where do things actually stand right now, legally speaking?
Well, those 4 individuals, they are in custody. But, as we said, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, they haven't officially filed charges yet, at least not as of our recording.
So it's kind of a waiting game?
It is. We wait to see what charges, if any, are ultimately filed and what evidence they plan to present.
Okay.
The burden of proof now shifts entirely to the prosecution. They need to build a case strong enough to potentially get an indictment and then eventually aim for a conviction. And that involves carefully analyzing all the evidence they gathered during that month-long investigation and from the searches.
And this whole situation, it's still very much developing, right? It's fluid.
Absolutely. We're likely going to see more details come out as the legal process moves forward. Maybe we'll learn more about the alleged methods.
How they actually got the parts out.
Exactly. Were there accomplices inside Ford? What was the full financial fallout, the actual verified value? Those details might emerge.
But even right now, there are some really big questions just hanging in the air, aren't there?
Oh, definitely.
Like, number one for me, how could an operation of this apparent magnitude go unnoticed for so long? 2 years. Where were the vulnerabilities?
That is the central question, isn't it? It really suggests potential weaknesses. Maybe internal controls, maybe security protocols, oversight within Ford's own manufacturing or supply chain processes.
Oh, right.
A 2-year window implies a pretty significant gap somewhere in the system.
And what security measures were actually in place at these specific plants? Dearborn, Flat Rock, Wayne, were there cameras, inventory tracking, RFID tags?
And crucially, how are those systems allegedly bypassed for so long?
Especially, and this is a key detail, with a former Ford employee reportedly among those arrested.
Right. That has a whole different dimension. What kind of insider knowledge might have been at play there?
You have to wonder, did they know the blind spots, the procedures?
Yeah, the alleged involvement of a former employee definitely raises serious concerns about potential exploitation of inside knowledge. Knowing security procedures, operational vulnerabilities, that could be critical.
And looking bigger picture, what are the potential ripple effects of all this? Not just, for the individuals if they're convicted.
But for Ford itself,
Yeah, and maybe even for the online marketplace for auto parts.
Yeah.
Could this lead to stricter rules, more scrutiny?
I think it could. This case might certainly prompt a big reevaluation of security measures by Ford and maybe other automakers too. And potentially, yeah, it could lead to more stringent verification processes on online sales platforms like eBay, trying to deter similar activities down the line.
It's wild. From the assembly line to eBay. This alleged story of automotive larceny, it's just a fascinating collision of opportunity and, well, potential consequences.
It is.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about all these unseen flows of goods, the complex systems designed to protect them, and maybe where the cracks are. What else might be out there, quietly slipping away under the radar?